Welcome back to the channel, everyone. As you can see by the title of this video, today we're going to build a watch completely from parts that I've sourced from AliExpress. Now, you may have seen my previous video, which was very similar, and if you haven't, I'm going to put a link up here for you so you can check it out. In that build, I built this. This is my Seiko NH36 homage watch. It's sort of James Bondish. At least that's what my friends say. And I think that it's mostly because of this black and gray NATO strap. But I love this watch and wear it every week. So that build, if you haven't checked it out, like I said, I'm going to put it up there. Please give it a watch. So today's watch is going to be a little bit different. Today's watch is a sort of homage to the Panerai watch. I've just recently found the brand Panerai, and while I am completely in love with the way they look, they are a bit expensive for my budget right now. So I wanted to get that Panerai look without paying that Panerai price. So today we have some parts, like I said before. I've got a case. It's going to be a silver case with an STA 6497. It's basically a seagull, clone of a seagull movement, they said, which has the right second hand and minute and hour hands for a brown watch face, or a black and brown watch face, which has a green loom in it. And this is what they call a sandwich dial, which means the loom is all behind a punch out of the hours, which is pretty cool. I'll show you that in a second. And then we have our 24 millimeter brown leather strap. Again, all these parts came from AliExpress. Today though, I also have some new tools which I didn't have last time. So I've got this little fella here, which is going to hold our crown stem while I adjust the length of it. And this is a pair of snippers. Hopefully we can cut the crown stem a little more flush than last time. And just one more thing before we get started. A big shout out to Michael Scheller 6884. In one of my videos, he gave me some tips and pointed out some things that I could be doing a little different, which would help in my watch build. So thank you very much. I really appreciate you guys watching, and I really appreciate any guidance on this, because I am kind of going in blind on this. I'm learning all of this stuff as I go. That being said, let's get into the watch build. Alright, so step one would be to get all of this stuff out of its packaging. Got our spring bars and our leather strap here. It's good and stiff. Hopefully that works out for me. Now we need to get the rest of this stuff out of their containers so that we can start to build the watch. Right here we've got our sandwich dial and our hands. Now these hands look a lot like they're kind of a light brownish, and they do look like that during the day, but at night they glow a bright green. This is the sandwich dial. You can see that the numbers are all punched out of this top level of the dial. And if the camera can focus on it, there's actually 3 pieces to this dial to make a sandwich. And we have the STA 6497 movement. Get this fella out of here. Just your basic hour and minute with the seconds over here to the left. You can see some computerized machining there. This is a clone movement of a seagull movement, I believe. I'll put this guy underneath here for safekeeping. And then finally we have our case. This case is a big boy, coming in at 44 mil. We've got the latch there, which is part of Panerai's thing that they do, and this prevents the crown from being moved or pulled out while the watch is in use, and it helps with the water resistance of the actual watches. I don't know how water resistant my watch is going to be, but this is mostly for the looks. So the first thing we need is a flathead screwdriver so I can get the crown out of here. Alright, so we've got our screwdriver. I guess our screw-in bands are screw-in spring bars are going to come off there, so hopefully I can figure out what to do there. Alright, now that is that. We're going to put this over here for safekeeping. And then our crown stem should just come right off. Now, using our magic 8-ball, the back just comes right off as well. As you can see, there is a very thin gasket right there, which is good. Put him over to the side for a moment, because now we need to focus on the movement itself. So the movement did come with a gear to go underneath here for the, I believe, the seconds wheel, and a couple of things that screw on the back that holds it in place inside the watch. So step one here would be to remove the placeholder hands. Get that one out of the way. I think I can just lift up on this one. There you go, easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? Get these out of the way, and I think that I can just put this here. And guys, if you see that I'm doing something incorrect, please, please, please let me know. I think that this goes like that. So that's the bend facing up like a bowl. If I am wrong, please let me know. And our next step is to position this correctly. You see our seconds hand is right there. But there's also dial feet that will hold this in place. I think. Okay, so now our next step would be to figure out if this has any dial or any screws that hold on the. So basically there should be some screws for these feet somewhere in here that would allow the dial to stay on, and I'm trying to find those now. Alright, so I'm actually going to check underneath the balance spring here. And I found them. There's one hidden right there and one hidden right there. They seem to be holding the dial on to the movement. So with that out of the way, let's go to putting on the hands. I think the trickiest part of this build is going to be cutting the crown stem to the appropriate length. But since we don't have a date complication, putting the hands on themselves should be pretty easy. The goal is to make sure that the hand is about as horizontal as you can get it. And we'll test it. And now on to the minute hand. I'm just being very picky about getting it right on the 12. And then check for freedom of movement. There we go. To get the little second hands on there. I apologize if this looks weird or it looks like I'm fumbling around. I'm actually not using any magnification at all on my end and relying solely on my eyes to see what I'm doing. Second hand has just got such a tiny little pivot point there. Now it's on. There we go. We're ticking. Now we're going to make sure that all of our hands are ticking quite nicely. Very, very basic, logoless watch dial, because again, this is obviously not a Panerai. We've got a screw holding now that's out. Let's do a final little dust off. Let's make sure that I put the movement in correctly. Well, there's something I didn't expect. So we're going to try a different approach because I'm relatively sure this is supposed to fit inside the case. I've taken the crystal out of the watch face, and now I'm going to try to pop this bezel off. I think that it does that. So I just need the right little blanks here for my crystal removal tool, or my watch back snap on tool, whichever one you want to call it. Let's see, we need one that will fit. There we go. One that fits inside the movement without being too big. I'm sorry, one that fits inside the case without being too big. That was a lot of sound, but may need something that is a little more or conversely, we may need something that's a little smaller. No, that doesn't make any sense now, does it? That looks like it just covers the... Yeah, let's do that. Give that a shot. The goal here is to see if I can put the movement in from top down instead of bottom up, because I'm wondering if that's how it needs to fit in here. And I'm also just not 100% sure. I just didn't buy the wrong, I think this may be the wrong piece altogether, because look at that. That's Alright, so what you guys are perceiving as a couple of seconds in time has actually been about 3 weeks in the making. So what I found out is that in ordering the ETA 6497 movement, I purchased the wrong size dial. So the dial and the hands are actually incorrect for this particular build. So first I have to take the hands off of this dial and then put on this new dial. So we should just be able to use what we have lying here. Let's go back to our screws that are holding on the dial. Loosen those up. Now we should just be able to pop that old dial off. We put him there. Let's get the new dial with the appropriate sized hands. There we have it. So with the correct dial on, we can work on the hands. There we go. Hands are both on. If we put the crown back in, the hands turn. Alright, so we give everything a wind to make sure we're not hitting anything, that our hands are as level as we're going to get them. And I think that's pretty good. Give it a wind, make sure our seconds are working, and they are. So now we have to flip the movement over. Pull the test stem out. Take our back off. And most important, take this off, because this crown guard is housing our crown. And we need that to put on our custom cut crown stem. We're simply just going to put our movement in there. You know, for a clone, that's not too terrible looking. It's kind of nice. I'm gonna fit. There we go. We're gonna fit our testing crown stem in there. That will hold this in place while I clean up the workspace a little bit so that I don't mix parts up anymore. So now we have to do something very, very fun. And that's take some of these tiny little movement brackets, and we're going to do a test fit because these are way too big to fit inside our watch. I guess the shiny metal's not helping our view out, but basically there's a screw here, or a screw hole here, and there's this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut it almost in half, maybe a little more than half. I'm going to do that off camera where it's safe. There we have it. That little fella is going to rest right in there. And hopefully, if I eyeballed it correctly, it'll be enough to hold the movement in place, so it's not shifting around inside the case. It looks like I need to take just a little more off, because it's basically wedging underneath the case. You see that little lip right there? It's wedging underneath there, so I just have to snip this ever so slightly. You might have noticed I've removed the finger cuffs here. And that's because after a while I start to lose circulation in my fingers. Okay. There we go. Let's run the screws. Just make sure we're lined up where we want to be. I'm not going to tighten it all the way down. What I want to do is I'm going to do the same thing to this other side. Trying to maintain a levelness there so that we don't get the watch face all squirrely. And there we go, we have a straight watch face set in the watch. And now we take this out, and the not so fun part, which is taking one of our crown stems, and I have extras, as you can see. We thread it onto the end, thread the crown onto the end of the crown stem. Get good and tight there. And what we want to do is push the crown stem all the way back in until it's winding the watch again. Now with my calipers, I will measure the distance from the inside of the crown stem to the inside of the watch face. And it looks like we're at about 14.5. Okay. So that means that we need to take all of this crown stem down, or at least we need to take 14.5 millimeters down of this crown stem. Now to do that, I'm basically just going to line this up here, kind of aim right here. And there you go. Just take some sandpaper. Kind of deburr the end a little bit. Thread it back on. Give it a test fit. Now see, I'm still a little bit too long, so I'll have to trim some more off. But it's always better to measure twice and cut once than to measure once and cut twice. Wait, no. Yes. Anyway, I'm gonna have to cut it again. Bear with me. Alright, so that may be it. We may have accidentally put it as close as it's gonna get. Let's see. Nope. Still got a little ways to go. Alright. So Just give it a little more of a snip, which is terrifying because if you look, I'm almost out of thread. All right, let's see what we've got now. How close are we? So close. Let's make sure that our screw is set properly, so I know that I'm making one the right length. Crown guard is on. It is closing. It's a little snug, but that's kind of the point, I think. It's fucking upside down. And it's upside down. And it's upside down. I've been testing this upside down the whole time. But what I think I'm going to do is loosen this, pull this out. Get just a little Loctite here. Screw the crown stem on the crown. Make sure that we are locked in place, that we are still moving the hands, still winding the watch. There we go. Now, for this, just to maintain whatever actual water resistance we would have from this watch, I doubt it's 100 meters or what have you, so I'm not going to treat this as a water resistant watch, or a dive watch for that matter. Get our gasket in place. Get our back secured. Now these straps came with these, but we're not going to use those. We're going to use the band bars that came with the watch. As long as I can find the other one. Just gonna slide this in here. And the same on the other side. And there you have it. This is the Panerai Style watch build, all sourced from parts from AliExpress. I plan on wearing this watch tomorrow when I go to work, so I'll let you guys know in the community section my thoughts on it. And if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. As always, my name is Bryant. This is the Last Stop Watch channel. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.